Welcome back, everyone. 皆さん、お帰りなさい。今日は78日目です。It's day 78. And we got a few things to go over as a way to adapt. Oh, I forgot my notepad. So, as a way to adapt another thing to these sessions. So we got a few things to go over today. Before we start, okie dokie. So, let's go over these first. So, ashita was a typo, right? What do we have here? Oh, this was a sheep into ba. Into a ba error. This one was to be visible. Human error, circumference. And more of a unification error between Hanzahiro and WaniKani. It still ended up being weak. So part of weak, but this is a radical circumference. This was an own own or kun thing. So kun po. So kongoe. It's a bit of a synonym thing. So compare with what I was looking for. I think there are others, so let's actually take a look closely first. From, right? From, sense, compare with. With, by means of, and then I had to compare. This one. Reading error. So, chew is chew. Nothing really to do about that. Okay. This one, definition. To be correct. Which these two unify. Right, for Miyataru. Miyataru being to be found. Which then this can be pivoted to Miwatari. Right? I forget this yesterday. That this is to distinguish. I'll have to look it up again. Oh. Watari is to understand. Wa e wakeru is to distinguish. And yeah, more pivots. This we pivot covering our bases. Miseru, which is to show. And also mieru. Oh wait, that's the pivot. My bad. Right, miseru and then miru. To see, covering our bases here. This one is fat, but since it's a character, I also pivot to very or extreme or excess. Well, I didn't add excess and stuff, but fat. More of a unification thing. I got a few other things from yesterday. Tsu, attach. Oji, right? Oji, and all the alls. So ojo, ojo, oji, jo, o, and kakuo. Not kaku, kokuo. And mataku, mataku. Right, mataku. For completely, entirely. And one last thing was naosu and naoru. Naosu to fix and naoru to be fixed. Still got one more. Oh no, it's here. Cool. So we pivot as well to komoji and kozara. Oops. Kozara. It does a good review of all the weak ones plus the mistakes, right? Alright, we'll probably get the 5 o'clock ones. Let's see, 4:46? I guess we'll see. This is the dip before the second peak day, right? The second peak day is tomorrow. Looks like it's going to be a much smaller second peak day. Although, it's not going to be that small because there's a double stack from one of the previous groups somewhere tomorrow. We might only be able to get to the 4 p.m. one. Maybe the 5 p.m. one. I'm slowly meandering earlier and earlier to accelerate my schedule going into April. Okay. Get to it. So diligent.
1時
1時
何時
何時
肉
肉 irony, sarcasm. Do we use niku? Niku sounds right. Or irony. Is kind of weak. Sort of. Kun. So he is on, right? And kun, the kun would be kawaniku. Niku, aniku. Guess we'll put this down. So how am I gonna write these down? So the notes I want to write down are what I see and what comes to my head first. So if I look at this, I'm looking at support. I'm looking at skin plus meat, right? And I'm thinking special immediately, and special being combination of he on he plus niku kun niku. So that's as far as I go, and then that's where I stopped in the thought process. Now the question is, where do I go from here? How do I make sure I actually know this? It just sounds right. I don't know if they have a special
皮肉
thing. Nope. Oh wait, does Niku actually qualify as Jukuko Onyomi? Oh wait, maybe the error I have is that's getting stuck is because Niku is Onyomi. Oh, it's only one read. Oh, regardless. Okay, so that solves that problem. So it's traditional largely because Niku is Onyomi. Alright. That fixes that problem. But that'll be a non-issue in the future. Okay. This is thinking. to think about. Okay, let's write this down too. So we have think plus plus I'm omitting ru because ru can be misleading. So think plus makes me think of transitive. I mean, we're not gonna go there. So far all I can think about right off the bat is think about something. Or think about. Maybe I'll say to think about. Right? This is kind of important from to think. Do I have a to think? I'm not sure if I have a to oh, wait. I do have a to think. Omo. But or yeah. Okay. This is to think about. Now, I need something. Do they have something? This is transitive, right? Because of not because of the air. Wait. Does that fit with my thingy going forward? Yes, I actually think the air make it transitive. We'll add the transitive. I'll keep it like that for now. I was gonna say transitive, but I wasn't so sure. That's probably gonna mod this for now to consider, to give thought. Oh, to think about something. Yeah, I added to think about something because it requires. Sometimes they end without an object. Sometimes they add an object for transitive. And sometimes they actually even omit the preposition that requires an object that implies transitive. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. So this is what I'm clarifying now for myself. Because some verbs technically are transitive and intransitive, so they put both transitive and intransitive phrases in the interpretation, which creates a really messy all over the place. So we're gonna try to sort that out now. I think no, and then remembering the read is not a problem. A lot of the predicates are on the interpretation side, not the read side. Kangaeru.
考える象
Oh.
明日
明日 And then we have, I guess a success works. Atari. Right. Okay, we gotta make sure I don't mess this up. So that's it. Right? Because this is often confused with de. De just because of the convenience of the suit. Right? I don't think this I have to double check in my mind every once in a while.
2時半
2時半 the self okay, let's write this down. So we have self plus part or minutes. Part seems okay. We latch on to parts. Self part. And that's where it stops. Self part. Self part. I have a little bit of something lingering in my causing me to lingering in my throat, causing me to cough today. Self part. What was freedom and liberty? Oh wait, is that actually self? Yeah, that's that. I think freedom is too no. I think the part of self is just oneself, myself. I don't know how they rationalize the other part of it. The part of myself is still oneself or myself. Maybe that's just why it's yeah, jibun is just jibun. I don't know how they rationalize. Oops. Wait, oh yeah. Or I don't know what the mnemonic is to get the right hand.
自分
Jibun, I think I relied on my own legacy. The one self part is after everything. Still oneself, and the parts that's from myself is well myself. Okay. I think okay, so this falls under Gotta think of it as redundant. Okay. This file's under redundant. Things that are redundant I pause on, I suppose. It can't be that straightforward, I suppose. Overthinking it. Do they have which day? They do have which day. That was my concern. What day as opposed to which day? Or which day as opposed to what day? Okay.
当たり
Antari.
何日
何日? Oops.
先週
先週. I think this one's pretty darn good. So is this one of those examples? Yeah, so this is one of those examples. To illustrate the inconsistency. So the primary is to lose. However, it's a transitive, right? It's a transitive. So the interpretation is inconsistent because it includes to lose something, but it is not held consistent to the idea that the transitive needs in a direct object, because to lose kinda don't need a direct object to some extent. So that's probably why they don't have it. And this is my issue with not creating consistency within the chaos, right? So there's times when the explainer uses that you require a keyword in English, like something or about or with, so to part with, and something is implied, or it has a full fat phrase, which is with something, and then or something, right? With something, and something with something, in order to imply a keyword of transitive. And that's part of the mnemonics for some of the transitive ones. But then they lax up and have a verb that is described to be transitive, but the primary drops both something and with something, which makes it appear as though it might be intransitive, which is reserved for intransitive. And intransitive verbs, occasionally, if you type something, is marked incorrect because they are transitive, right? Like that would imply a transitive verb, but it's intransitive. So I think this inconsistency kind of is a sour position. And while it might not be a big deal with and with something and this, I think it becomes a big deal later. It's going to become a big deal later. At least the verbs that I'm thinking about are going to become a big deal later. So, and all of the retroactive ones have the similar inconsistencies. And there are more exotic ones, like agaru and ageru, sagaru and sageru. There are more exotic versions too that are easier to explain out. But this with something about something is requires a consistency check, in my opinion. But obviously these are big deals to some people, not big deals to other people. I think reading the thing in a context sentence will alleviate most of these problems. Like, because you still have, right, you still have the particles help, and then whatever the object is next, or the thing that is before the particle as well, can help with whether it's transitive or intransitive. And then the whole paragraph, right? And more things. But in this case, since we're working on with so little, and the difference between having something here, like I don't want to test this because WaniKani is terrible at double check, in my opinion. Like, they don't encourage double checking or experimentation. If I typed to lose something in which the alternative does not include something, do you get it wrong? And I'm pretty sure in the last 78 days, there was at least one instance where I added something to be very specific, and it was a intransitive verb, and it was marked incorrect. Now, if it's a transitive verb, this is the forward thinking. If it's a transitive verb and you omit a direct object, sometimes it's taken like this. This would be example. So I always type to lose something, right? This is why I have something here, because I know this word to be transitive. But the primary is to lose. I think that's a little weird. So it's a double standard now. It doesn't go both directions. It's not consistent both directions. It's consistent going in one direction. And that to me can create a guessing game. I'm not sure how, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has this thing where it looks like the mnemonics are deliberately, in my opinion, the mnemonics are deliberately adding an extra step of confusion as opposed to alleviating a step of confusion. Because if you start thinking about verbs and or predicates and predicate endings and trying to distinguish transitive versus intransitive, and you're using their mnemonic devices that are inconsistent, it creates an extra step of negotiation between whether is there even something about this ending. Now, I don't think it's a big deal for those who just wrote memory through all of this. It's a slightly big deal to me because it in Duolingo, right, they do not make you pay attention to transitive and intransitive. However, you kind of want to know the difference between transitive and intransitive, because in Duolingo, you have to write the particles that are in the sentence. And to create a consistency of understanding of particles, if you want, like why this particle versus this particle, and then understanding that predicates can be transitive and intransitive can help add an extra safety net. So because I started with Duolingo Japanese and I'm naturally curious about consistency and patterns, it being transitive and intransitive and knowing them is very important to me. So over the 300 days in Duolingo Japanese, I myself have come up with my alternative system in figuring out what is transitive and what is intransitive. So while I'm trying to understand how ko and ko figure out how they do their mnemonics for transitive and intransitive, I found that it is far more inconsistent, in my opinion, than the system that I was already currently using to figure out whether a verb, whether a predicate is transitive or intransitive. I even have a mnemonic for those. So this might not be a problem for people who are combining rote memory and whatever little bits and pieces here and there that ko provides in mnemonics. But I think this has been a long standing, maybe the last 20 days or so, last month, that I personally have probably abandoned for the most part, paying attention to how they distinguish a transitive and intransitive verb. In fact, those part of the mnemonics don't even ring a bell to me. Like, it Was there a mnemonic for oo? I don't know. Oh, now? I guess if it's now, I mean, I'm not even sure if they have anything beyond that for oo endings. So, you know, you have au, right? This would be an au, right? Au su, like au su du mu, right? Ku, ku. All those endings, I have a working system for that because I have to conjugate. I have to conjugate and do all that in during the Duolingo sessions. But this, you don't conjugate at all. You're just using the dictionary form. So that might actually provide enough consistency to create a unifying mnemonic, but there isn't one here. It's so all over the place. It can trap you into things and make you think of things that you otherwise wouldn't even concern yourself. Right? It's weird. We'll navigate through it. Right? Was this one a problem though? I don't think this one is a problem. Largely because the cow is related to the ending of the verb. So I often always know is to lose something because it's in the cow now, right? So this would be a great example on a case-by-case way of demonstrating transitive. So if they consistently decided, okay, we'll make independent mnemonics that reads the ending with the meaning and or the read, then that would be an extra step, but it would be a consistent extra step, as in, okay, now we always include the ending into our mnemonics, so we have to remember the ending, and that is the extra step, so you consistently practice that. Instead, they decided to choose to sometimes include the end, sometimes not, or have the end as a separate mnemonic to the root. So either sometimes the root is separate from the the stem, or actually yeah, I guess the root is separate from the ending, and then sometimes they're together, and then sometimes they're either attached to transitive or intransitive. So now you have three moving parts, right? Three moving parts. I don't know. We'll see. I'm paying more attention to the little things now, largely because it's good to iron them out. Always try to do better next time. Right? Okay.
Toki.
I don't actually even know what the mnemonic for Toki is. 2 keys. What time is it? It's time to key your opponent's card. My mnemonic for Toki is not even kind of a mnemonic. It's Toki Toki. Toki Toki is a very common word, which it's probably listed somewhere. So Toki Toki. The first one is Toki. And then the important thing about Toki Toki is it also demonstrates that to, especially Toki, can be rendakud, which is Toki. So Toki Toki. Repeated words are very useful pragmatic mnemonics because it also reminds you that they can have a rendaku, internal rendaku. Let's see. Hang on, let me ban the bot, the daily Twitch bot that reminds me I'm also live on Twitch. Very early today, actually. Okay. All right. Like chikazika is kind of a special case, but the idea is to get into the groove of it, right? And then certainly like soul repeats the thing, but then hayabaya, right? Hayabaya is not. And you can remind yourself of dendakus or repeating phrases or repeating sounds. Okay. What was it? Shinao.
失う
This one, all the life ones, I just relegated to rote memory. If all else fails, it's rote memory. Brute force will in SRS thrives on brute force a lot of times. So like this is just brute force. Yo is also brute force. Kaisui, Kai worked really well. I think anything with kayak worked really well. There were so many kayaks.
海水魚
海水魚. So rendakus are another story too, because rendakus end up being brute force. They end up being rote memory, because I wouldn't even try to touch how to know rendaku. That's a good obstacle with no real nanzen, right? Nansen sounds awful. Sounds one's kind of weak. So I see what plus 1,000 and I think done plus den sen, right? Dendaku then or zen nanzen. One moment. That's it. I don't think I have a easy way to. Yeah, I don't have anything for Dendaku right now, other than know it.
何千
Wouldn't fault Ko and Ko for that as well. It would be interesting for someone to explain to me how they go on negotiating Dendakus, other than feeling.
今週
Seikatsu.
生活
生活 Um I don't actually know how to is it towns with an S? This is more of an English thing. Townspeople. I think that's fine. Town people? No, town people sounds weird. Townsperson, townsfolk. I was just seeing if it had an S. Okay, townspeople. Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
風
Bakeru. This was from yesterday.
化ける
Bakeru.
来週
Naishu. Honto. What did they go with for this one? Just thousands? Like what thousands? Or do they accept how many thousands? Probably. Several thousands, okay. Several. How many thousands? Interesting. Several. Several was also used in Hanzahiro, but they neglected saying how many. Several is like an undetermined. Several thousands as in an undetermined amount. Like a loose approximation. That's fine. Country people, citizen.
国民
国民
中学生
留学生 本当
本当
bread loaf counter. No, not bread loaf counter. This is Mr. I almost messed up. My bad. I was thinking of Keen. Oh, to transform is interesting too. Because it could be to transform into. It kind of has like a direct thing. That's transitive. Yep. Did you change? No, you didn't.
し
Chomin? Hmm. We have no other read from Machi. There's Machi. No. We're pretty confident.
町民
Show me. um
台風
life. Kit 10.
欠点
Kit 10.
同時
同時
週末
Umatsu. I'm kind of curious if they have end of week. It's not the same thing. I just wanted to check. This is clan pool.
氏名
Chime.
Nishi
Nishi.
Ji
Ji. All right, let's do the 5 that rolled over. What time is it? 5:30. Okay.
Otoko no ko
Okonoko.
Mieru
Mieru.
Kogoe
Ogoe.
Yuka
Yuka. Okay. Our one lesson. Okay. Next time. Makes sense. Next time. Jikai.
次回
Jikai.
次回
次回
Okay. Jikai.
次回
That's self-explanatory. This is still from last time. Okay. All right. So let's go over our stuff. All right. Harmonics. Hook, snake, cloud, weapon. compare, net, sickle, horse, easy, suit, page, cape. Reads Z she she do yo un I Q Shin Xia En Mori Asa E Do An Su Raku Wa Den Sho An. And then let's write out our, no errors today, but let's write out our special stuff. So we had skin, plus meat. Right. And what was it? It was not special. And it was 2 ons. Right, 2 ons. So the Iniku. That was it. And then we have think plus e. So think plus e. So 考える. Right, 考える. Was it that was a problem here? Oh. To think about. More about. Transitive as well. Right, transitive. Okay. And then we had self part, right? Self part, which is myself. This was emphasizing redundancy. Far more common in Chinese, actually. And then we have what thousand, right? What thousand. Right. What thousand, which is thousands. Also, it also takes how many thousands, which I prefer. And also rendaku. The most important part is the rendaku, which at the moment we're using rote memory for rendaku, which rote memory usually ends up becoming a feeling by hearing. My feeling relies on hearing, so I read it out loud. So like nanzen, it sounds fine. Rote memory ends up becoming a feeling from hearing a lot of times. I'm not sure if it comes from reading it. I think reading it makes me more likely to say, wait, is this nansen or nanzen? However, when I read it out loud, nanzen, it sounds right. So that's kind of how I hop on rendakus. Maybe after consciously doing this, there might be some sort of way to tease out rendakus, but for the most part, over like the last thousands of hours of listening to Japanese and stuff. Largely, rendakus are rote memory into feeling it from hearing for the most part. Obviously, you can read the text without knowing what the read is, and you'll still know what it is, right? Like, I think this is one thing that's underappreciated for reading out loud, and someone who's, in my opinion, I spend more time listening formats because it's a little time efficient for me. More time listening, I would have to read this out in order to know that it's a rendaku. But when you're reading this, it just says how many thousands. You don't need to know what it sounds like at all, what the kana is. In fact, I actually think a vast majority of people who don't do a mix of both a lot of times when it comes to input I would ask, if you asked them, can you type the kana for this? Even if you typed non-sen, right, you will get this, like in the drop down. So it can also be circumvented by auto-correcting and auto-conversion to the nearest phrase. So you might end up completely avoiding rendaku in the thought process of reading it anyways. That's kind of one of the other reasons why I read things out loud from time to time. It's underrated. Outputting something, there are, a lot more people who believe output does not inform input at all. So I'm not surprised that from time to time it would take longer, not that they don't know that is rendaku, but it would take longer for someone to read this who prefer or believe that they only read better to not hear the rendaku. When I see this character, I'm reading it out loud in my head. I'm like, that does not sound like nonsense. That sounds like nonsense. So that's kind of how I'm negotiating rendaku right now. Don't know. All right, and that's a wrap for WaniKani today. Not bad. Got a little topic in. I'm trying to focus on very specific aspects now. All right. That's a wrap for WaniKani in our Japanese session today. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu. Right? Always welcome to follow along or share your thoughts and little problem solving skills and tools and tricks that you came up with circumventing some of these things, right? I'm all ears. Always fun to hear and share, right? So until next time, right? Minasan mata ne. I'm gonna get up and stretch a little bit, and I'll be back for Hanzo Hero. Thank you.